This is a follow-up video to a video I made about Dr. Cimmerian's take on the rubber. He has just recently put out another video where he goes more into detail about his issues with the rubber's videos and the art style and what it does to the community. And I have a few different notes on a couple of his takes that I'd like to spitball out there. I'd like to start off with a few things that me and him agree on. Me and Dr. Cimmerian agree that the rubber's intro and art style is rather attractive to a kid's mindset. However, it's also attractive to people with low attention spans or with like ADHD, people like that, people like me. It's how I found his channel. We also agree that he should most likely put a content warning up on before each of his videos. However, we disagree on why. He believes that it should be up there, that way parents know that it's not safe for kids. I say, like how SCP Illustrated does it, you should put content warnings up for people with PTSD and triggers. He doesn't put it up there for not safe for kids. He puts it up there, there's going to be blood, gore, talk of sexual assault, talks of suicide. He doesn't go on there, if you're a kid, you shouldn't be listening to this. He doesn't pull a Veen Fuso. He simply just puts up the content warning. So I believe it should be up there for people with triggers, not for kids. Unfortunately, that's where the agreements with me and him end on this, because he makes a few assumptions and leaps in logic that I just can't get behind. His first assumption is when he went through the rubber's channels on the channel comments, he said that the abbreviated comments had to be kids. That's just not the case. There are people, my father is an example, he learned how to text when he got phones when they first became popular. He now abbreviates all of his words because he learned how to text that way, so he might as well post that way or send a comment or a message that way. Some people just get used to it. Some people find it to be just faster, so they do it that way. It's a faulty assumption at best to assume that because someone spells you and not you, that it's a kid. And unless the rubber puts out his analytics and actually shows, majority of my people who watch this is kids, you're going off of a faulty assumption at best. The second assumption is that children can't or shouldn't find SCP content. That is a personal assumption that throws out all of the maturity of the individual child. It's the parent's responsibility to teach a kid reality from fiction. And as long as the parent has done that job properly, then the kid should be perfectly fine. And if the kid does somehow find the SCP wiki, do you really think that the child has the attention span to sit there and actually read a horror story in the format of a government file? No, I barely have the attention span to read SCP files because they're in government formats, but because they're in government formats, that's what somewhat makes it interesting. And speaking of the parents, it's the parents' he believes that it's the content creator's responsibility to make it so that it is almost 100% impossible for the kids to find this graphic content. That's simply not the case. First, it's the parents' it's the kid's responsibility to know what content is appropriate for that kid. When I was a kid, I wasn't jumping to MTV or Spike. I stuck to Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon because I knew that's what I was supposed to be watching because my parents taught me. So there's that first gate. Second gate is like the actual parents themselves. Kids aren't supposed to be on YouTube. They're supposed to be on YouTube Kids or watching Cartoon Network or some bullshit like that. They're not supposed to be on the YouTube where people post political videos and horror stories and videos of people getting into fights and shit like that. That YouTube is not a place for children. So the parent, if the parent is going to show the kid something on YouTube, they should be there when the kid is watching YouTube. I have a 6-year-old nephew who, whenever he comes over, he asks me to watch Avengers. And he knows the difference between Avengers and reality. So I pull up my YouTube account and I sit there and watch the Avengers cartoon with him. He doesn't get to touch my phone. He doesn't get to swipe or hit the next episode. I hold the phone the entire time and I make sure he doesn't go down some rabbit hole on YouTube. So that's the second gate. The third gate is the content creator himself marking the video as safe for kids or not safe for kids. I'm going to go on the assumption, since, as you state in your video, when you mark something safe for kids, YouTube automatically turns the comments off. All of the comments on the Rubbers stuff, as far as I've seen, is turned on. So I'm going to go off the assumption that he marks all of that stuff not safe for kids. That's where the content creators' shit should end. And then there's YouTube. YouTube has its own gate where it makes it so that if you post a video and under the COPPA restriction you put, yes, it's safe for kid, they have an automated system where they look for keywords, and those words are marked as not safe for kids. So they can automatically switch, they can undo what the creator does and put, oh, you think it's safe for kids? It's not safe for kids. And they can remark your video as not safe for kids. So there's 4 gates right there in the way of this really graphic content and the child. And that algorithm probably has dead bodies or blood or that kind of stuff as, oh yeah, this should go under not safe for kids. So there's already a large span of area where there's already more than enough restriction so that kids can't watch this content. So to sit there and say that, or to sit there and grandstand that we as a community or YouTube or the content creator themselves need to do more to protect children is only going to create a scare that caused the past adpocalypse, or the last few adpocalypse, not the Carl Mazza one, but the ones before that, where people were trying to make YouTube safer for kids, so advertisers pulled out because there was content not safe for kids. Sitting here spazzing out that kids might find SCP content is only going to cause another adpocalypse, further restrictions, and doing nothing to strengthen those 4 gates that are separating the kids. So YouTube creators, parents, and the kids themselves all have their own part of the responsibility. You don't get to sit there and say, the kid, the parent, and YouTube all don't have responsibility. It's all on the content creator. You don't get to do that. Who are you to say that that's the case? And my last point involved the comments. You have turned your, Dr. Cimmerian has turned his comment section off, and his excuse for that is that he doesn't want kids interacting with his content. So like pedophiles or anything like that can't interact with him with children in his comment sections. But if that were the case, you would turn off the comment section on all of your other videos. Personally, I think you turned off your comment section because that way you would be able to say that most of the people, if not all of them, that you talk to agree with you. And you can say that without lying. Because if you look at your Twitter and on the comments of that video, almost all of them are criticisms. He's kind of pulling a Butch Hartman, only talking to other creators and people in your circle, and if you're not in that circle, I don't have to take criticism from you. That's faulty. Criticism makes things better. It's the whole reason why I've criticized politics in the past. I want political parties to get better. But this kind of stuff can't get any better if you shut off your comment section just so you don't get any criticism. I feel like the biggest problem with your videos is who you put the burden of responsibility on. You take all of the responsibility out of the individuals who find the content and put all of the responsibility on the people making it. And if we did that all the time, we wouldn't get South Park or Family Guy or Futurama or Happy Tree Friends. I brought up Happy Tree Friends in my last video. And he brings up a Cartoon Network turning into Adult Swim, and they put content warnings on the beginning and in between of each episodes. Yeah, they have to do that because they're on Cartoon Network, a network specifically made for kids. So yeah, they have to put those content warnings up. YouTube is not made for kids. They should not be forced to put those content warnings up. If they want to, great. They shouldn't have to. Either way, these are my thoughts on Dr. Cimmerian's kind of shitty take on the rubber. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.